All right, we're live. Hello, dear Starshines. Christina here with Lightbody Academy and Rise of the Multidimensional Human. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about topics and issues that are significant for us star seeds, new paradigm visionaries, and way showers. Those of us who have abilities beyond what maybe the typical human embraces. Therefore, we have very different perspectives to the kinds of challenges that we face on a daily basis. So we're here to talk about those challenges, and I am here to provide, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective to these challenges that we are facing. So welcome, everybody. We'll give everybody a moment to log on here. So if you want to catch this stream live and be a part of the conversation, there are two ways to dive in. One is at our YouTube channel called Lightbody Academy. And then the other way is through our Facebook group called Rise of the Multidimensional Human. Okay, and if you don't like Facebook, which I totally understand, we have a backup group or a sister group, let's call it, on Telegram called Multidimensional Human. So I post the YouTube channel link in the Telegram group as well. So you can join us any of those ways. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, dear Soul Schooling. Welcome. Hello. Much love your way from Ohio. Well, when you know it's Soul Schooling, I'm in Ohio right now. Hello, Carol. Good to see you. And then for those of you on Facebook, if you want me to be able to read your name out, because it'll just come out Facebook user, then you're going to need to give StreamYard permission. So there's a see more link at the top description of this live stream, and then that's where the link is to give StreamYard permission to see your name. So I'm not saying your name is because I don't know it right here. All right. Hello, darling. Hello. Welcome. All right. Well, let me get going on the topics here. So we have, all right. So there's been a lot going on, right? I mean, everybody's waking up on a whole nother level to timeline jumping. They're waking up to whole other levels of who they are that they never even knew existed. But then once you wake up to them, you realize it's always been this way, right? There's a lot of exciting awakenings happening for humanity right now. And there is there's a push-pull with the old ways and the new ways, the old ways of looking at it, perceiving it, experiencing it, and the new ways of looking at it and perceiving it. So, and this is the signature of the turning of the times. It's like the very foundation of reality gets a whole review that happens. So we're coming out of a Piscean age where, we were, authority was associated with our spiritual life, like God the Father, right? We had a lot of structures that are all about the hierarchy, and you need to other beings have authority over you and what you do and how you approach your spirit, how you approach the elemental realms, how you approach the divine, let's say, right? And now we're coming into a whole nother frequency of consciousness, which what they're calling the Aquarian Consciousness. And that means we're no longer bowing to authority. Instead, we are claiming our own authority to bear and pour water. Okay, so we have to really re-examine and redefine all the things that our reality has been built on a multidimensional level. Now, I remember back in 2010 through 2014, I thought it was absolutely impossible that humanity could possibly wake up to the multidimensional levels of who they are, right? But to my pleasant surprise, I'm seeing it happen before my eyes. Of course, it's going to be bumpy. Of course, there's going to be a lot of pain, and there's probably going to be even more, just because, this is groundbreaking what's happening for humanity right now. We are breaking out of a cycle that we have, a trap that we have been in for hundreds of thousands of years, not just tens of thousands of years. It's been a long time that our soul consciousness and our solar ring has been entrapped. And this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to wake up out of it, right? Only thing is, we have to be willing to re-examine everything that we think we know, even that which we hold most most sacred. Okay. First topic is, if karma doesn't exist, there's a lot of typos in this one. Why do spiritual teachers still work within that contract? How does that work? So that means what I'm hearing in this, we'll be talking about Akashic contracts, maybe 4D contracts, other kinds of levels of contracts, and how that participates in the unfoldment of our reality. Cool deal. And then what is organic light versus false light? How can we tell when someone is pure? Yeah, my answer to that is going to really surprise everybody. I have a feeling. So I can't wait to talk about that. And then we have, if we create our reality 100%, why do we say we are sorry? All right. So I think they're talking about the forgiveness practice, maybe, or perhaps other kinds of scenarios where someone is using the verbiage of, you need to let this go and apologize, or accept the apology, or feel remorseful, that kind of thing. See, if we were primarily the bandwidth of who we think we are, that whole thing wouldn't even, doesn't have any power. But the fact that we're multidimensional beings, we are navigating with all of our being through a universe, and we have access to all those capacities. Then that question is, it's rather obvious on why. So we're gonna start with that particular scenario in my brain to draw out for you guys. Let's make sure I'm totally on camera here. Hello, darling Polly. Hello, Hodai. Hi, Lavana. Good to see you. Hey, Ray Allen. Love you guys. All right. So I'm going to do the nesting dolls today. So we have the Galactic. The Galactic. This is the consciousness that is the Milky Way galaxy. And the Milky Way galaxy is this vast, vast, vast object, billions of years, billions of years in diameter, like this. In the center, depending on what version of the Milky Way you're in, right? Because we're talking multidimensionality here, many versions of this consciousness, just like there's many versions of our kind of consciousness, right? You have a sense of who you are in this kind of timeline, who you are in that kind of timeline, who you are in this version versus who you are in that version, right? So the same thing applies for the Galactic. So the Galactic has many faces. We have the great Kuan Yin consciousness. That's considered one of the faces. The white Tara. Most of the faces that I have heard the Milky Way called are female in nature. Though I do know people who know the Milky Way consciousness as a male entity, as a male being. So this is a vast, vast, vast nesting doll that's holding our consciousness like a container so we can have experiences within it. Remember, the container is what creates the finite plane so we can have another layer of our existence come forward, right? Become, get focused in and spin down even more. So in the center of this version, some people are walking around with this being a black hole. Some people are walking around with this being a white hole. And some people are walking around with this being something else, a central sun, let's say. So the version of the Milky Way galaxy you're in, you can easily tell by, what the center looks like this. But do know we are multidimensional. Like, I mean this beyond, like, think beyond anything you ever thought was possible, right? And quite literally, because of the way reality is breaking up right now, we have people living in a totally different version of the Milky Way galaxy walking around this planet with us. Okay, many people are in the existence of the black hole being the center of the Milky Way. And that means that they're in a black hole system. Depending on how you are in your perspective, right? So a lot of people have the opinion that the black hole or white hole system is a false light system. And I prefer not the term organic light, false light, because that feels a little misleading. It's more about finite versus infinite. Okay, so we have our infinite universes and we have our finite universes. Finite universes consume life until there's total just cosmic dust. There's nothing left. It eventually implodes upon itself. Now, if you listen to a lot of spiritual teachers, you'll notice that they talk a lot about imploding. And it could be that you absolutely do need to implode to get past this reality and go into the next to an infinite one. It very well may be that. And that's the camp that I'm in. So there are also people on this planet in a version of the Milky Way that are it's just completely unified, and it's just radiant infinity coming from the center, right? And so they have a whole nother kind of system that they teach to what going home is, or ascension, or whatever you want to call that, right? So this is why it's so important for each of us to sharpen and practice our listening to our compass. Our compass is what our sense of what the truth is. There's going to be people that gravitate towards a particular kind of reality, and their compass is pointing them in that direction. And there's going to be you and other people whose compass is pointing to another different kind of reality, right? And that is their truth, and that is, that's what their system is guiding them towards, right? So this is what it looks like, that turning of the age. It's very, very confusing because we are all in this together, but we are also actively choosing to be apart. And that's for reasons we have yet to discover why. Okay. I don't know if you guys saw that post that I posted the other day in the group about with the Oracle talking to Neo, saying that your choice has already been made. Right now, you are going through the process to find out why it was made, why you made that choice. This is huge reveal in that movie. So whatever version of the Milky Way that you're in, it is a nesting doll that is holding a reality together for you. Okay. She's holding it for you. All right. Let's see. I guess I'm going to continue with this spiral. All right, that's the Milky Way. And then the next nesting doll in is the all that is. Okay, here we are. The all that is. Okay. Does this look like a different color on the screen? Maybe. Yeah, I don't have really good contrasting. All right, we're gonna have to just deal with it. When I fill it in, it'll look better. So this all that is that next nesting doll in. So we have the galactic cycles, the galactic plane, okay, the rhythms of that frequency of the consciousness of the galactic, holding a container for an all that is presence to be within it. As in, there is nothing that is without this all that is consciousness. There's nothing that it is not. There's nothing that it is not. All that is. I am presence. I am presence. Okay. So this is a really, really, really liberating part of yourself to wake up to. This is the part of you that is indestructible. This is the part of you where your agreements and contracts, or let's say intentions, are launched from. It's all that is presence. So you are an all that is present being, and there's a thought that happens, and that thought has so much energy and passion that it separates out from you and goes like a rocket. Well, that rocket's you. That rocket is actually now a being that thinks it's you doing whatever that thought was. This is the song of your being. The intent is continued or contained in that frequency. It's going to shape everything about your journey within this Milky Way. Now, we have access to aspects of who we are beyond the Milky Way galaxy, absolutely. And those cycles are long cycles. Those cycles are many, 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 many billions and billions of years, right? So those cycles we have access to as well, but we have to first liberate ourselves out of this matrix, out of this thing before we can, really have a sense of empowerment on this other level, because there's layer after layer of unlocking that has to happen here for our consciousness. All right, so the next layer after the frequency, okay, the all that is presence, right, is the frequency. All right, well, I'm falling over here. Let me get to this. So the all that is presence is so, and then a passionate thought comes right out, and that thought, that frequency, that tone, that song comes right out and continues down the rabbit hole of the Milky Way. Continues right down the rabbit hole. And it becomes even denser. So that thought turns into, instantly a frequency. Thought or intent is a frequency. And that frequency gets to have an expression. And then the nesting doll comes even, the rabbit hole becomes even more finite, becomes even more defined. And that's where that frequency turns into the map of your being, the light body map of your consciousness in this galaxy. Oh, I'm looking for some of my other markers, and it looks like they're not here. Okay. I'm just going to have to keep alternating these colors. Are they in here? Okay, no, maybe not. All right, so going back to purple. You guys with me so far? Hello, darling. Hello, hello. Hey, Joanne. Good to see you. All right. And this is all, okay, cool. All right, so then you have your song, and it's now, that sound is now hitting a plane. The plane has edges, which means it's finite, and that plane starts bouncing the frequencies back and forth, and it creates a shape. And that's your light body. That shape that it creates is your light body. It's pretty much the map of your unfoldment. And that light body has within it an intent. That light body has within it what some might call mandates for existing. You know what I mean? Like really high level contracts or agreements to become so can be in this light body. I mean, mandates or things to create that your whole existence is meant to experience can start way back here in the original intent of coming out of all that is. So there's layers here contributing into the here and now moment. So far there's the Milky Way galaxy intent and quality of consciousness, right? Then there's the all that is intent and consciousness, and then there's the frequency, which is the actual intent and motion, and then you have the light body, which is the next layer of it becoming so. It's like it becoming manifest within our reality. So that's four voices, so to speak, four intent layers of intent, so to speak, that have now set the stage for the next layer. And that next layer, let me get these squigglies in here. So, and the next layer is when you actually get to experience all these lifetimes, all these expressions via incarnational experiences. Now, it could be lifetimes on this planet. It could be lifetimes as other beings. It could be lifetimes as interdimensional non-corporeal beings. I mean, there's no limit. And all these lifetimes happen instantaneously. Instantaneously. All right. And then you have all of these lifetimes. This is like maybe more of a stellar layer, because your lifetime does not have to stay in the same solar ring or on the same planet. You can incarnate for a while on a planet, then just decide to go have a different resonance for whatever reason, whatever this compilation of agreements are, and start having existences on another planet. Usually there's some sort of purpose that's propagating that kind of migration. But, you know, sometimes we just decide we're done with this experience and we move on. We exhaust it. We exhaust the experience. There's nothing new happening here. And then we move on. Sometimes when there's nothing new happening here, then we'll go back to all that is, or we go back even beyond before we came to the Milky Way galaxy, and we drift in bliss, nothing for a while, and then we come back and then we revisit this galaxy again. It could be like that. There's really no limit. And many of us, especially if you're in a call like this, you're ancient. You've been doing this for well beyond billions and billions, before time was time. Okay. So you, in your soul's journey, in the different cycles that you've been a part of, you have that in your here and now. You have access to that wisdom. You have access to that. But we have to get past, what we think is so first. All right. So we have in these timelines, you have all these opportunities to make more soul contracts. Now, when you're making contracts, you have no real perception of the intensity of what you're talking about because you're in the ethereal still. So when you're in the ethereal and you're making decisions about your face getting smashed in, or your pelvis getting crushed, or, having this kind of situation happen and that kind of situation happen, you're completely disconnected from how intense it is to actually live the trauma of that kind of moment, right? So mostly in that soul level, it's about wanting to resolve something. Most beings either want to experience something, resolve something, or set something straight. Okay, that's usually the reason why. There's some sort of exploration, or there's something entanglement that the soul wants to unravel. You know what I mean? So none of it is that you got to be taught a lesson. Not really. Your ego driver definitely needs to be taught a lesson. But on a soul level, it's usually, especially in this time of turning of the age, it's to recollect ourselves. It's to actually have the experience of reintegration with all these layers of who we are. Like, have the experience of what it's like for all of you to become quantumly untangled and come back into the here and now moment in a biosuit. That's why a lot of us are here, right? This is like an extraordinary opportunity for a being to experience this. And again, on that level, you're not sensitive to how intense it's going to be, right? So it's not the same kind of perspective going on. But a lot of times, oh, wait a minute, let me get to the next layer, and then I'll get to the lot of times in a minute. Hold on. Hello. Yeah, go ahead and put questions in there if you have any. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So we have our lifetimes, our Akasha, and then you have your planetary, which is the who you think you are, the 4D canopy. I'm trying to decide how I want these squiggles to go. Squiggles go like this. Okay, and squiggles. There we go. Okay, I think I got it. Be the squiggle. Okay, just kidding. Okay. Oh, did I miss some? Okay. So this is now the planetary, right? This is that 4D field. The 4D field is the who you think you are. It's your belief systems. It's your inherited belief systems. So it's your belief systems, both conscious and unconscious, and right, subconscious, all this, it's all in this canopy. This canopy is strongly controlled by feelings. And the kind of software that's being ran right now on that 4D is the feeling of fear. They need to keep people, the system that's dying out needs to keep people in fear as much as possible right now, because that will have our focus versus all these amazing miracles that are happening in our dream time and, and other things for humanity opening up. And, oh, I want to get another thing in here too. Okay. Thank you for the reminder. All right. So then we have our 3D right here, and I'm just going to keep circling it. And I'm going to do it like this. Our 3D is the experience of space, separation, all that stuff. And I'm putting it like this because this is also 3D. This is the realm of the mother This is the realm of Pachamama. Pachamama, quite literally, means Pacha, realm, mama, mama, realm of the mother. And this is her realm. And her realm, she is the space holder for everything that comes into this realm. Everything that comes to this realm, she is the space holder for, and she is the one who magnetizes, pulls through who is going to come and have an opportunity to incarnate. We all have agreements with the Pachamama. We all have agreements with her. Okay, that's a soul level agreement, or even up here in a quantum level agreement that you have with the Earth. Okay, depending on where you came in on the scene. And then along with her is a whole spectrum of consciousness that are pretty much like builders, okay, like a builder kind of consciousness, what matter is made of kind of consciousness, or call it organizing forces to the physical form, and that's the telluric realm. Okay. The telluric realm, the elementals are the building blocks. Our body is made up of the telluric realm. Our everything that we see, can touch, tap on, is made up of the telluric realm intelligence. Our bodies are exquisite. It's systems within systems within systems within systems, and it builds this biosuit that becomes a vehicle for this infinite being that we call essence or spirit or soul. Okay, so these elementals also have nesting dolls of agreements going on. And what's happening on this planet is that we are learning how to take 100% responsibility to our relationship with the elementals, what the elementals are used to create. We're learning right now, along with a whole nother rules of reality, we're learning how to take responsibility for what happens, what these elementals are used to create. We have to take that responsibility, because if we don't, then we have other beings that are more than happy to direct our elementals to become other things. And trust me, that's not necessarily something in our best interest. That is, if you are concerned about the freedom of humanity, if you're concerned about this transition into this new age we're going into, right? Because with this transition comes massive opportunities. Now let's start talking about cycles. So every nesting doll has a cycle that we can tune into. Okay. Every single one of these nesting dolls has a cycle that we can tune into. Oh my gosh, I have to get my monster board out. Can I do that? Yeah, I'm going to get my monster board out. Hold on 1 second. Yay! Check it out. I have a monster board. All right. Okay. So here we are. Talk about cycles. You guys, you got like, here, let the camera adjust for a minute. Okay, so here we go. This is it. So we have the black hole in the center of the Milky Way galaxy. From the center of the Milky Way galaxy, because she is the space holder for us all, and this is a Mayan teaching, guides, emanates out this massive creation wave that is an organizing force to elemental consciousness. It is an organizing force of things coming out of the ethers, of intense, of dream time. And this very first wave, this from here, let's get a baseline here. All right. From here to here is like billions of years. And from here to here, billions of years. This is a creation wave emanating out from the Milky Way galaxy that is an organizing force to all the elemental consciousness that's within her, creating a cellular consciousness, a cellular realm, okay? And then there's another wave that comes out. And this wave is a lot shorter, but it's still a pretty long wave, okay? I think if I remember correctly, the ratio is 20 to the 20th component or something like this. If you want to dive into this particular work, this is the work of Johann Kalaman, who Barbara was a huge fan of, and she elaborated on his work. She like translated his work over to her work too, because of the Mayan calendar aspect. But all right, but do know, so what that particular teaching is talking about, it's talking about the pyramids, the cycles, everything is in a cycle of 9, and there were 9 creation waves unfolding in our here and now reality, and that is the key to why we're experiencing time acceleration, right? So the first one, from wave to wave, billions of years. The next one, from wave to wave, several hundred millions of years. The next one, the next wave is several 100,000 years. And then it just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And right at 1999, the last wave began to unfold, and that was the wave of technology, right? Technology, the consciousness to create technology, is a wave, consciousness wave, coming from the center of the Milky Way. Let that sink in for a second, okay? And it's really tiny, 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 tiny. Its days and nights are, just 30 days. It's really short, right? So this is billions of years, and in the very last wave, it's just 30 days. So all these waves have cycles. All these waves have an ecliptic. All these waves, you get it? Okay, so this is why ancestor healing is so important for us all, because we need to reclaim our responsibility to be aware of these other the consciousness of these other cycles within us, okay? The only way to do that is through ancestral healing. You have to clear away the blinders of the belief systems of our ancestors so you can have access to the memories, to long-term memories that come with these waves, because you are an infinite being, remember? You've been traveling through the Milky Way, from outside the Milky Way in through all these layers of densities, right? You were here for all those waves. You were here for all that. So connecting with your ancestors is connecting with yourself in a lot of ways, because it's consciousness. DNA is consciousness. So if you spend most of your time focused on what you're going to manifest this year or what you're going to manifest next year, you're tuning into the tiny, tiny wave, right? And that maybe call that a Mercury cycle, Mercury going around the sun really fast. That's a real short-term goal. It might feel like a long-term because, we don't like to commit to things sometimes. Okay, but when you're tuning in to the ancestrals, to your ancestors, and you're cleaning those entanglements up, and you're opening the aperture to the life force energy, flooding your consciousness, flooding your being, you can hear the songs of your ancestors. You can hear their voices. You know what I mean? You'll have dreams. They'll reach out to you. There's all these messages that you're now available for. And they are the key for you tapping into these more ancient aspects of who you are, the who you are beyond the matrix. Once you get in touch with the who you are beyond the matrix, then all this other stuff, all these other layers of things, you can see right through them. So when we're tuning into our lives and what we want to do with our lives, a lot of people want to step into their soul purpose, thinking themselves to be who they think they are in their face, going through this life stream. But if you switch that around and recognize that you're an infinite being in a biosuit at a monumental time in history, right? Are those seeds that you plant, is it about what you're going to do tomorrow, what you're going to do next year, what you're going to, you know what I mean? Is it for a result that is something in a short cycle, like what technology does? Or it is a result that's more about evolving your DNA, or evolving your family, increasing the circumstances, the opportunities for future generations. Okay. When you are tuning into your purpose in the long game, you're tuning in to the purpose of the long game, right? The cycles, the solar cycles, the astrological cycles, the lunar cycles, all these cycles, all of a sudden, these little cycles are just steps in a much bigger cycle. This comes what comes into your awareness, and you recognize, oh, I am actually at the very end of a cycle right here that's billions of years, and I'm about to step the threshold into the other side of it. Now, when that has your awareness and that's dominating the narrative in your mind, you look at things very, very differently. You can recognize that the systems in place are ancient and they all take advantage of the long cycles, all of them. This is why we have that fascination with the occult and the Illuminati and all this stuff, is because we wish we had what they're doing. Until you're awake doing what they're doing, right? And then you realize, oh, okay. So these long cycles are imperative. They're absolutely imperative for us in reclaiming our sovereignty. All right. Oh boy. Oh, good. I'm doing good on time. Yay. All right. Sorry about the lights, guys. I'm in the really dark room, and I realize it's all glaring and stuff. All right. Let's check in with what you guys are saying. All right. So dear, Lara, hello, darling. Welcome. All right. So dear Lavana says, thank you for bringing up elementals. They reveal themselves in most of my photos. All since the last electrical storm, I talk to them, but can't feel anything from them. Okay. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Thinking about being my own grandmother, and how that affects my way to clean up my lineage. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because you're coming from it in a very different way. Yeah. Yeah. Things present in their time. And when it's time, it's time. It's not just because, randomly it's time. It's that the thought has awoken. It's traveling through, right? It's awakening. Here, let me put this down. It's awakening through these different realms until it hits your awareness. And it's not until it comes into 4D does your conscious mind really have awareness. That is unless you are cultivating your spiritual gifts. If you are one who cultivates your spiritual gifts, you can feel the ripple of that change. And you can tell, you maybe can't put words to or describe the change that's happening, but you absolutely know something has shifted. Right? So this is the benefit that we have because we completely embrace our alternate perceptions and understand their importance in our lives. So this game here that we have going on, we have choices here. The powers that be are ruling the long cycle. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with astrology, and I'm not saying like look to astrology for talking to you about your future or anything like that. I'm talking about looking at astrology so you can see cycles, so you can see what it looks like. You can have it in your awareness and maybe have a resonance with the cycles within cycles within cycles, right? So we have like a Jupiterian cycle that's 12 years. We have a Saturn cycle, which I think is almost like 28, 30 years. We have a Plutonian cycle, which is, I think, 249 years, something like that. So, and that is just our planetary cycles. What about the stellar cycles? What kind of cycle is our sun in relationship to all the other stars, right? That is a cycle. That cycle is embodying a creation wave. Just like Jupiter is embodying a creation wave. The moon is embodying, or reflecting to us, a creation wave. You see what I mean? Okay. So when you, oh, here we go. So when you are coming out of, all right, let me back up a second. In a new paradigm, we get to revisit all these structures, all the belief systems that we've created, everything. We get to revisit it and look at it in a different way and redefine what's important for us. I want to make sure I draw this in a place where you can see it. All right, here we go. So we have, I'm so happy to have my big board back. I've missed my big board, guys. Mm-hmm. All right. Can you guys see that? All right, I will change my position and make it easier. I'll finish the drawing. 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, 8D, 9D. All right, here we go. Okay. You guys can see that. Okay. Well, it's the drawing that I normally do. And if I think I can move the camera up, actually. Let me move this up. There we go. You can still see it. All right. So karma. Let's talk about karma, the teachings of karma. Why do spiritual teachers do it if it's not true? All that stuff. And that is because who we are happens in many different layers. Who we are happens in many different layers, like I was outlining in the nesting doll experience here, right? So by the time you get to the light body level, or by the time you get to the soul journey level, where all your different incarnational experiences start happening, you already have constructs in the form of mandates, contracts, agreements on these other levels of who you are, on a galactic plane level, in a all that is plane level, on a Syrian level, Andromedan level, okay, these different levels of who you are, right? So when you are breaking contracts, you have to wake up to the level of which that contract was created. That is why if you're coming from a place inside of yourself that identifies that you are who you think you are, and you're planning and you're wanting to break contracts because of your short cycles that are in your awareness, your life right now, your life in a year, life in 2 years, you're not in your big self, you're in your little self of who you think you are. Now that is the petty tyrant that thinks it has control, but it does not. You have to first let go of who you think you are so you can explore these other levels of who you really are, make connection with that, and start breaking or revisiting the agreements that you have at these other levels. So if you're concerned about your life right now or a year from now, that's a very small cycle, and that is not that's not necessarily in your purpose, because your purpose is something that has been synchronized on these big waves. So we need to expand our vision, expand our dream time to the big cycle, and then work our way back to the here and now. This is how we step into our purpose with a giant tidal wave of life force energy supporting us in manifesting that purpose. Okay, that's how you do it. So you can't play the small game. This is why they say with magic and stuff, don't ask for money. Okay, it's incomplete thought. You have to recognize that you're asking for money because you're looking at the little cycle. You need to be in the big cycle and work your way back. That's how that goes. So when you are in the outer nesting doll of the all that is presence, that all that is presence, when you're in that nesting doll, there is a certain quality of consciousness, there's a quality of ethics, there's a quality of appropriate respect and dignity that other life force beings have. Okay, so you don't just come in and beat everybody up and take all their energy. Well, unless you do, of course, and then you know what I mean, then you're creating, that's a whole other ball game. That is the kind of behavior and relationships that create destruction. And if it's the age of destruction, then you are that behavior is on the level, is on the big wave, right? But if it's the age of awakening, that kind of behavior is not on the big wave. That kind of behavior is on the smaller wave. This is why the old power over dynamics are dying, and they're falling apart, because we are It's not because they're not on the big wave. It's that we are waking up to who we are on the big wave and changing our perspective and realizing reality is not what we thought it was. We have been, you can see that you've been lied to your entire life, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, right? It goes really far back to some of the most ancient mystery school lineages. Okay, so we have to expand who we think we are. Expand ourselves, realize that we are a product of generations upon generations of people, of beings in a biosuit that are our allies. And if they're not our allies, we can bring compassion and love into our relationship with them and transmute that relationship to something that can be, you can be allied with, or they can be allied with you. A lot of circumstances, people have a hard time forgiving their lineages because of terrible things that have happened. But when you wake up past who you think you are and into who you are, and levels like this, like in the Akashic field level, where you realize you have been every kind of version of being there's ever been, and you've been the abuser as much as the abused, you can recognize the truth of the hurt people hurt people. And when you recognize that, you no longer can, that wisdom, it can now serve you, so you're not a victim. You become liberated from the victimhood of that ancestor. And when you liberate yourself, you're liberating them. You're freeing them from having to play that role. So when you are in the forgiveness or in compassion with stuff like this, because you woke up to the bigger picture, you're liberating your people. You are actually nulling out those agreements and contracts by forgiving. Okay. It's all about the layer it was created. The 4D layer is very in the human small cycle purpose, right? There are layers that are much more sophisticated, and that's where you get to things like karma. So karma started off as a program, right? And that program started to create experiences. And humans started to be told a belief system to explain those experiences. So then they started incorporating that belief system into being a truth of their reality, and then handed that on. Now, so it started off maybe on this level, but then it quickly rose into the Akashic level or into the Lightbody level. You might ask, how in the heck does that happen? Ceremonial agreements. Make agreements in a ceremonial format. And in that way, you are making an agreement on a soul level. That's why we have ceremony. They don't tell you that. People, the program they want to feed you, that's just a bunch of pomp and show. But no. Because when you have ceremony, you have opened up a hyperdimensional vortex. Elementals from all the directions have arrived. All the other beings that are, involved are having an agreement or a contract fulfilled by you doing this are arriving, right? You have an entire interdimensional population coming to witness on top of the people in bodies. Okay. So anything done in ceremony is very, very, very powerful and super significant, right? So this is how you're able to penetrate past that 4D field, is by doing things like this, using magic, what we call magic. Really, it's reality management. Really, once you see it in another level. So when we're in 4D and who we are in that 4D level, changing agreements, stuff like that, the ones that can change will. But we need to recognize when there's an agreement that's even in a more outer nesting doll level that we need to address. And then not until we wake up to who we were when we made that agreement and why we made that agreement, we really can't do anything about it. Okay. Agreements cannot be forced. It has to be time. What is it that makes it time? Right? It's a cycle that's ending. It's a full circle moment happening. It's you waking up to who you are on another level, recognizing why the agreement was made. And I guarantee you, it is not a slave, it is not a victim disempowerment agreement. That agreement was made for a whole nother reason beyond the individual face. That agreement was made with the intent to address something on the long cycle. So if you're trying to address a long cycle agreement with short cycle sightedness, you're going to miss the big picture. Once you wake up to the big picture, and it's truly a big picture you're waking up to, that's where those agreements or contracts, whatever the construct you want to call it, that's where it can end. That's where it ends. It can end. You need to make sure it does end with your intent when you're awake to yourself on those levels. So when it comes to karma, sorry, I got off track. When it comes to karma, there's added things. So a karma, because of belief systems, just like heaven and hell and purgatory and dead zones and the summer lands and the, the chariot in the sky, all this stuff, these are all belief systems. The belief systems create the realm. So when you have a bunch of people fearing God, they're going to get damned to hell, or you have a bunch of people getting damned to hell and they really believe it, they're actually creating a hell, a circumstance of hell, and they're allowing themselves to go there because they fully believe it. Okay? That's because that is a result of generation upon generation upon generation of lies and manipulation. That is a result of these guys working the long cycle. Okay? This is why one of the first things that had to get eliminated from Christianity is the remembrance of having multiple lives. Okay? Even though they acknowledge it in the Bible, I think it was John the Baptist that was the reincarnation of Elijah, something like that. All right, I don't really remember all my Bible stories so much anymore, but, but back in the day. Anyway, so, but still, all right, so this is, you can see it now. This is something, particularly, let's say Christianity for 2,600 years, right? Maybe a little less. There's a lot of argument about timelines and all that stuff, and if it's really the true time, but either way, that is a planned out programming unfoldment that happened there. That's what it looks like for the control systems to work the long cycle. Now, you, in your infinite being in a human biosuit right here, right now, you have the ability to step out of that small box of who you think you are and into the big box of who you think you are, and start liberating your ancestors who got lost in those realms of belief systems and realms of hell realms and all that stuff. You can actually go back and sing songs to them. You can reach out to them. You can wake them up, and they can wake up and come home. They can actually cross over into the happy hunting grounds or wherever it is that is appropriate for them to do, right? For them to have a liberated experience of going back home. We can do that simply because we want to, simply because we're willing to bring love and compassion into the circumstances. Okay. This is why I say that forgiveness in the hands of a master is a superpower. It is a superpower, because once you have it, once you really have it deeply ingrained and integrated, you can bring it to others. Okay, you can help worlds and realms far beyond your immediate circles, far beyond your ancestors. You can liberate worlds and realms that go off into infinity and beyond. Okay, you can create beauty that goes on and on and on. You can do that. Okay, so organic light versus false light. I think I answered that. That's the difference between infinite version of the universe versus a finite version of the universe. Okay, so let's talk about this, because this has to do with pure teachers too. So remember how I was saying about frequency needs a plane that has edges, it needs finite edges in order for the frequency to bounce back on itself to create shape from it, right? So there's that kind of finite. But when it comes to, when we're talking about light, right? When we're talking about just light, or consciousness, there is a finite reality where that reality has to constantly be fed life force, has to be constantly fed souls, love, energy, whatever, has to be constantly fed for it to be sustained. That is what I would call a false light. What I would call the true light, or maybe organic light, is the version of the universe where we're all in our infinite connection. None of us are severed. None of us need life force of another in order to have our own life force, our own will, if this makes sense, like that. So I don't necessarily work with the words organic so much, because that's implying about technology being evil, or technology being not have a harmonic place, doesn't have a benevolent place in the evolution of humanity or the planet or something like this. And I'm not ready to make that leap yet, because I think if we were all awoke to our sovereign levels, that we would have very good, keen, clear discernment on how far to go with technology. Okay. Right now, technology is being used against us. So in that case, it's not great, right? But we do have to face the reality of what to do with this. You know, how do we integrate this? We can't just, put a global magnetic pulse and end all electrical systems for the planet and then go back to the dark ages. I don't think that's really the answer either. So you and me and the sacred dreamers that are awoke to ourselves in that way, we need to dream something else into being. We need to tune in to the songs of the ancestors and hop on this big wave. And when we hop on the long wave, we can have inspiration, thoughts that we haven't been open to, or thoughts we haven't had before. And we can start digesting that newness through our dream time, and until our consciousness can awake to it and then actuate it and bring it into the here and now. So this is, that big transition is, what part of yourself are you taking action in the here and now from? Are you taking action in the part of yourself that's busy in the short cycles? Right? Do this, get that done, to check that list, do this list. Is that where you're spending your time? Right? These days, so they want you to stay focused on that little stuff. But the more time we take for ourselves to clean up the energies that we're here, that we can clean up, right? We can start tuning into the long cycles and start expanding profoundly the potentials that we can take actions from in the here and now, and start creating in this wave. And when you are creating like that, that is a tsunami of life force energy propelling you forward. Not the whole, I got to do it on my own. I don't have any friends. No one's got my back. I'm, continuing with the black sheep, mentality. Not that we're not black sheep, because we are, but it doesn't impact us in our daily moment action time, right? It's just maybe something that impacts our thoughts, that will impact our feelings from time to time, but it doesn't command our actions in the here and now. It doesn't command our vision into the long wave and why we're here and what we want to do for humanity, what we want to create for the earth and create for humanity, right? That's the big one right there. Alrighty, let's see what we have. Okay. All right. Doesn't look like there's any more comments, guys. So I didn't wrap up the pure teachers. So the pure teachers, here's the thing. Our reality has been infiltrated for a long time. Every religion on this planet has been seeded with an agenda by a being of some sort. Okay? Every single one without exception. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just giving you the bigger picture idea of things. Okay? We are said to be made in the image of God. God says we're made in his image. What does that mean exactly? Well, they're talking about the most recent star seeding that happened here, where there's a particular kind of human that was brought to this earth. That's what they're talking about. So we're like the human / Anu / Adam / Draco / Anunnaki humans. Right? And then before that, there was another kind of humans that were seeded here, and they were seeded from a completely different lineage of beings. We could call them creator gods, but is that really accurate? Isn't it more accurate to say that these beings, these non-corporeal beings that understood how to create within this nesting doll reality with mastery, right? They're the ones that gave us these biosuits, this form. They may have gave us this form, but did they give us our soul? What do you think? I, for one, happen to be really aware that I'm an infinite being and I have no beginning or end. That's the ultimate truth of myself. Sure, I have these nesting dolls, these layers of experiences and thoughts and agreements and stuff that have shaped who I am in the here and now. But I started off as that infinite spark. I could feel the infinite spark inside of me, right? It's unconditional. I don't need to have a reason. I don't need to have a belief. Don't need anything to touch that spark. Simply the willingness to focus my awareness. That's all. Needs my free will. And that's where these guys have really got humanity. They've tricked everybody into colluding with their own free will to contribute to these cycles, to these control systems. And that's what karma is. Karma is a control system that has been fed over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime. Souls, that got trapped on this planet lived over and over again. And then there's these agreements and all these organizing, contracts and stuff, and the 5D, the 6D, and the 4D happening, right? It becomes a construct. So when someone says it doesn't exist, you can say, how can that be true? I'm living my karma. When really, if we stay calm when we hear someone say that and actually try to look at it with curiosity, we might see beyond that veil and realizing it's true until it's not. You are living the reality of karma until you wake up at the level at which it's being held within you. Then you can reassess and reevaluate. A lot of people, when they wake up to that level of who they are, a lot of people choose to be done with the karma game. Okay? It's not mandatory, though I suggest it. You can do what you want, right? So when you're looking at it, this inception, they take contracts and beliefs that we already have going on, and then they put little implants and programs to bridge them together. So say you stepped out of the cycle of karma, long time, and maybe your brother had a kid with someone who was, super into the karma truth. Okay, so now that DNA consciousness is mingling with your nephew, right? That DNA consciousness, and now it's now a potential again in that consciousness. So they're look at it as little gears. These little gears get activated, and once the gear on this 4D level gets activated, then it connects to the gear in the 5, the gear in the 6, and then then it's running again. So you have to keep, these constructs don't need to be actively engaged to remain so. And this is why a lot of people talk about once they wake up to karma, they then have to wake up on how to destroy the wheel of karma. There's a perception that there's a wheel of karma. And then you have to look at, all right, how do I completely dismantle this construct so it can't get activated again in my subconscious? Right? So pure teachers, there's no such thing. All of us, and pure is not even possible because all of us have a direction, all of us have a compass, and all there are teachers and guides that help us, the ones that empower anyway, that help us use our compass, get to why we're here. Are you here to really focus your energy on the short cycles? Are you here to focus most of your energy freeing up life force in the medium cycles, or are you stepping into mastering via the big cycle, the big waves, right? All that is predetermined. Your soul's already decided. So now you're along the ride to find out why that choice was made. So the compass, all you got is what feels right and feels like the truth. That's all of us have. That's all I have. That's all you have. That's all who anybody has. And some people on a large nesting doll level are working into going into a finite reality, and others are going into the infinite reality. Their free will is working in that direction. So you don't necessarily want teachers that are pure, because there aren't any. You want teachers to help you see your truth, help you recognize what your own inner voice is saying to you. That's the kind of teacher you want. I mean, that's the kind of teacher I want. That's what I look for. I look for the teachers that can really help me connect with that infinite nature of me, my indestructible self, and sharpen my compass. Sharpen, sharpen, sharpen. Empower, empower, empower. So I can truly make a choice, a free will choice in the moment. Right now, people, they call it free will choice, but it's not, because they've been blinded by that 4D canopy. They've been blinded by this canopy so much. Up is down and back is forward and right is left. So how can you really make a free will choice in that moment? Aha, you're not making the choice. Your soul is. Your soul already made the choice. You see what I mean? Okay. So purity is no such thing. It's just the road, the arrow that points you in the direction that your trajectory is taking you on. I hope that makes sense the way I'm saying it. All right. Oh, okay. So I have a couple, I know I'm totally going over. How do I do that? Time just flies by. All right. Thank you, darlings. All right. So Joanne says, funny, but I haven't seen the black sheep as victim type, but a sovereign holding its own and willing to say what isn't popular as time is appropriate. Yeah, sure. There's all different versions of this, of course. A lot of people have a hard time allowing themselves to belong because of their black sheepism. You know, that's all. All right. Thank you for the session. Thank you. So okay. All right. Yeah. I'll do that. The big wave. So the big wave is an organizing force. It's the first dream spell. Here we go. Arwia's language. It's the first dream spell that is an organizing force of the elemental beings traveling through the Milky Way galaxy. That dream spell is organizing the elementals to formulate a certain kind of life. In which case, the first life, which is cellular life. And then there's another wave that was I can't remember the exact, actually I don't remember them all, but there was 9 altogether, and the next one I think might have been tribal consciousness, and after that would be maybe identity. What do you call it? Not tribal identity, but there's another kind of identity, and then it just kind of keeps going from there. And the last one started in 1999 is the 9th wave, which is 30 days long. So the 9th wave is 30 days long, and the first wave is several billions of years long. So these are cycles. These are dream spells that have astrological expression. Okay. Think about the yugas, maybe. Okay. And that cycle has an intent. It's like a wave of energy. It's a frequency wave that is the foundation for all of life. It's the original dream spell. And then you have another layer of dream spell, and then you have another layer of dream spell, right? So you have one layer of dream spell holding space, and next layer of holding space, and the next layer, and the next layer, and the next layer. So all these dream spells work together as an organizing force to your here and now, right here, right now, boop, boop, right? So when you are cleaning up your ancestry, you are cleaning up your connections to these dream spells, to these dreams, to these songs, to these frequencies. Now, a lot of us have lost our culture many generations ago. So it's really significant for us to reconnect with the ancestry and reach back before time was time, because then you can reach back to ancestors that were still awake in the dream time. You know, they were still awake in dream time and walking in physical form. When you start connecting with those ancestors, which very often could be you, right? But in a different body, in another time space. Anyway, then you are building your ability to be informed on a deep subconscious level. These the frequency of the creation wave, the songs, the tones of that wave. And as you harmonize with that wave, you are harmonizing with allowing that life force to move through you, You're working with with the rhythm of life. Working with the rhythm of life, working with the cycles is the key to everything. This is the key to learning about your humanity as well. It's not just something out there in the galactic. It's very practical to our here and now. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. I don't know if that really, if that did or not. Please let me know. Okay, well, I hope I cut into those pieces deep enough for you guys. I'm so glad to have my big whiteboard back. I kind of like to be able to alternate between the different graphs. Actually, there's one more chart that I would have liked to have drawn, but I didn't have enough room. All right, darlings. If you are interested in getting involved with the Lightbody Academy and reclaiming your own sovereignty and unraveling the stuck quantum of your lineage for you to advance in your availability for life force energy and to really change your reality, I invite you guys to check out the Quantum Reality Shift. It is 6 months long, lightbodyacademy.com, and it is a program that's pretty much all the components are recorded if you can't make it live, but primarily it's live. You can come and meet with other star shines, do some really incredible sacred work together where we do the entanglements of the quantum entanglements. We do those together, and it's really powerful when we do it in a group like that. So I invite you guys to check that out. It's really the big tool you need to step into the big wave, to step into your quantum levels and be able to work from those levels with lots of support and guidance from your inner being. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think this is it for me. Mwah, mwah. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.